Are you ready to hear the best story in the world because it stars me? It's called How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, that's me, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could perhaps be that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with his sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find a way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys. Would wait, and then, oh, the noise. Oh, the noise, noise, noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise, noise, noise. Look at all those annoying Who's in Whoville. Bah! I can't stand them. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to a feast. And they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, feast, feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which is something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they would do something he liked least of all. Every Who in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. And they'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, sing, sing. And the more the Grinch thought of the Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop Christmas from coming. But how? And then an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and coat. And he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the Grinch? Oh, no. The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn to the top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some empty old sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then that Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh started down towards the homes where the Who's lay snoozing in town. All their windows were dark, quiet snow-filled air. All the Who's were all dreaming, sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinch Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. That's me. Look at him going inside. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. Fortunately, we Grinches are rather slender. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He only got stuck once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "These stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." You see him sneaking in there? Look how sneaky I am. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant Around the whole room, he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums. Nom, 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 nom. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox, and he took the Who feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. Blech. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, the Grinch even took the last can of Who hash. There is a well cleaned out icebox. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove, and he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou Who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, "Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?" But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. "Why, my sweet little tot," the fake Santa Claus lied, "there's a light on the tree that won't light on this side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went up the chimney and stuffed the tree up. And the last thing he took was the log for the fire. He went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On the walls was left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that was left in the house was a crumb too small for even a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who houses, leaving crumbs much too small for other Who mouses. Take that, little mice. Ha! It was 1/4 past dawn when all the who's still abed, all the who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled, packed it up with presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags, and the tinsel, the trimming, the trappings. He's got everything. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the hose, he was grinchily humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. Then those in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so. But it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook, and he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or another, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours, till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, is a little bit more. What do you think? Do you think that Christmas is a little bit more? And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. He brought back the toys and the food for the feast. He himself, the Grinch served the roast beast. The end. I hope you like that story. Now shut up and go to bed.